Welcome back again at the Easy Italian Granddad channel. All of you, my new Italian speakers, wishing to learn how to speak Italian like an Italian. Let's keep on this basic path to blend in with the natives. In this episode, I wanted to finish the theme of letters that can have two sounds in Italian, because we still have two of them to study. However, one of my online students asked me to first deal with the letters that have one sound but different in Italian from the one pronounced in the English language. So I'm happy to talk about these three letters in this lesson, and we'll deal with the others later. Well, this is a matter that always causes a bit of anxiety to native English speakers. How to produce that typical Italian sounds that seem so difficult at first. Learning another language with different sounds is a new exercise, especially for your tongue that's not used to produce those sounds. Perhaps you know that the Italian word for language is the same as in Latin, lingua. But do you know how the tongue is said in Italian and Latin? Any guess? It's said lingua, the same word. What does this mean? That speaking another language is like having another tongue. But of course, you don't have to change your tongue. In practice, it's another way of using your tongue. Obviously, this requires a bit of adaptability and practice. We'll see here that ultimately it all comes down to some very small changes in how your tongue is positioned relative to the roof inside your mouth. And it's all about one specific spot, actually. It will take some practice, as your tongue is not used to being positioned that way. Something similar happens when you learn a physical exercise you've never done before. But I assure you, this training does not require the same amount of physical effort as gym exercises. In fact, the best way to do this is being completely relaxed. Especially your mouth and tongue should be totally loose, no tensions. There are various ways proposed by Italian teachers, and you can also find them in many online videos. Every person is different, so each one of us may find one way or another easier or more suitable. I propose here the approach that seems to me the simplest and most effective for native English speakers. But you can find other ways by searching online. However, the sounds we are going to study now are not peculiarities or oddities only typical of Italian. They are the same sounds common to many languages. From this point of view, we must say that English is an oddity compared to other languages, because your pronunciation is peculiar, not found in other languages. Take, for instance, the Italian sound of R. R, which scares beginners a lot. It's the same or very much similar to its counterparts in Spanish, Greek, Turkish, Romanian, Swedish, Russian, with lots of Northern or Eastern European or Slavic languages, and also lots of African and Asian languages. Conversely, you won't find the English sound of R in other languages except English. So, you should know that while learning the Italian sounds, you're also practicing many other languages. You realize that much of the issue is where your tongue touches the palate. Many teachers at this point show you anatomical pictures or diagrams of the mouth's internal structure. I don't like all that stuff very much, but I'm just making a little drawing featuring the front part of your mouth and tongue. You see, these are your upper teeth. Here are their sockets, and here is a point where the palate narrows. Then it widens above. Let's start with an exercise where you go discovering all these parts, slowly caressing them with the tip of your tongue. Start at the tip of your upper teeth and bring your tongue up to where your mouth narrows. That's like a little lump, a sort of ridge. Then go further up to where it widens above. A little journey to discover our mouth that's done with our tongue. Let's get familiar with our anatomy. Now let's start studying the letter D. Please put your tongue as you normally do to pronounce your D and stay like that. Get ready to pronounce the word day. Can you figure out the exact point where the tip of your tongue rests on the roof? Most likely the point is this: a little above the teeth and a little below the ridge. Say day now, otherwise you feel a sense of repression. Okay, now raise the tip of your tongue exactly up to the ridge and press it there gently. The two spots are actually very close. Their distance is probably just half a centimeter or a fifth of an inch. But the effect of your voice will be different. Open your lips a bit also, not in the shape of a kiss, but of a smile, so the sound can come out more freely. Now keep your tongue in that position. Don't move it. Just say day, which means gods. You don't think you pronounce it correctly? Just do some exercise. Try it several times and you'll see the secret is in this slight shift of the tongue. Try both sounds then with the two different positions to get familiar with the differences. Day, 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 day. If you want to think like an Italian, we can say that the English sound seems like a sort of middle ground between two consonants to the ear of an Italian. When you say your D, the sound is somehow in the middle between the D and the soft sound of G. An Italian thinks you're pronouncing the D on your teeth. So it sounds quite similar to G. D, G, D, G. In the middle is your D. So the Italian D is obtained by moving farther away from G. In English, say G, then D, and then move your tongue further up to say the Italian D. This is another way to obtain it. Repeat these exercises as many times as you can, and I'm sure you'll get out with an excellent pronunciation of the Italian D. But when you get the right sound once, don't think your job is done. You must acquire the ability to insert that sound into words in all possible situations. You must become fluent in pronouncing D. And now, what I told you in one of the first lessons may be useful. Fluency is a matter of being good actors, my friends. There is a tip to gain fluency gradually and easily. Start by inserting the sound of the Italian D into English words first. Those you already know well. Imagine being one of those characters with a strong foreign accent that you find in certain movies. They could be nasty thugs or somewhat ridiculous characters or whatever, but you're an actor when you learn another language. Imitating that accent is essential to your work. After practicing with your language, start pronouncing the correct Italian words with D. You can try any word you find in a dictionary. If you're not sure of the pronunciation, put a comment in the section below. Or write it in Google Translator or other translators and listen to the pronunciation. Then repeat it with the correct D sound, and just to have some examples, let's hear Siri. Benvenuta cara amica.
Eccomi qua.
Siri, per cortesia ci porti qualche parola che contenga la D.
Con piacere. Eccole. Divino, indagine, giudice. 2. Condominio. Addendo.
Bene Siri, grazie dell'aiuto.
Prego.
Now what about the T, my friends? You have to follow the same method to learn it. What's the difference between D and the T? The tongue is positioned the same way at the same point. Only the impulse of the breath we put into it is stronger, determining a sort of a small explosion that is stronger for T than for D. This happens in English as in Italian, but we do it in a different position. So, to pronounce the Italian T, you just have to follow everything we said for the D. First, put your tongue as you're going to pronounce Taylor. Stop there and pay attention to where the tip of your tongue is. Open your lips a bit in a smiling shape, then say Taylor. Now raise your tongue until the ridge. The point is the same as D. Gently push the tip of your tongue on the ridge and pronounce telo up there. You only need to push your breath a little harder. It's a stronger explosion of air. You will produce the T sound instead of D. Say Taylor and telo, alternating them, to grasp the difference in sound and position. All the same exercises are required to gain fluency. Read the suggestions above and do the same practices with T as with D. Put the Italian T into English words first, then try pronouncing Italian words with the Italian T, etc. There's only one difference in the Italian perception of your English T. It sounds like it was halfway between the Italian T and the soft sound of C. So the second way to obtain it is pronouncing C, then your T, then go a bit further up with your tongue to obtain the Italian T. Let's listen to Siri for more examples. Siri, ci sei ancora?
Certo, dimmi pure.
Ci farebbe piacere avere delle parole con T.
Le ho qui pronte. Titanio, tetto, attutito, duttile, battuta, bottino, gatto, cattivo.
Basta!
Posso continuare per giorni e settimane se vuoi.
Lo so, ma per ora grazie, Siri.
Di nulla. A presto.
Okay, now is the moment you all have been waiting for. We're about to tackle the anathema, the bugaboo of all native English speakers. The letter R. R. I see you all on the other side of the screen worrying and thinking, my God, how will they ever pronounce that sound? How can I even understand what I'm supposed to do with my mouth, with my tongue, etc.? My friends, do you remember what this course is about? How to learn Italian pronunciation the easy way. Believe me, it's much easier than you think. If your exercises with D and T have attained acceptable results, in the next step you'll also have acceptable results with the R. The only initial difficulty is that with the English language, your tongue is not used to touching this specific spot, exactly on the little ridge of your palate. It's more a matter of getting familiar with the spot. Now please set your mouth in the right position to say runner and stop before pronouncing it. Unlike many other languages, in the English R, your tongue doesn't touch the roof of your mouth at all. It's in a similar position to the one in this drawing. This way, it's impossible to produce the rolled sound. How do we do that? Very simply, let's put the tip of your tongue on that same spot we've seen before. Yes, it's always the same. You should press your tongue there, but gently, in a relaxed manner. Now, let's pay attention not only to the tip of your tongue, but to its entire contour. The tongue has to touch the palate, and touch it a lot. It has to close the upper part of your mouth along the entire circle, but in a relaxed manner. So your mouth is now divided into an upper part completely occluded by your tongue and a lower part which is open to the outside, possibly with a widely smiling lip shape. So when you push air from inside, it finds the path blocked, and pushing through, it needs to find passages to get down and out, possibly near the tip of your tongue or around it. Remember, 1. To keep your tongue relaxed. 2. Gently pushing on that specific spot with your tip and closing all around. 3. Push air, pronouncing a neutral sound, de schwa, or something like until air is forced to pass under the tongue somewhere near the tip or on the sides. This thing works like bubbles coming to the surface in water. They cause a gurgling sound in the water. Here we have air bubbles going downwards under the tongue. This way your tongue vibrates, obtaining the typical Italian rolled or trilled sound. But the task is actually much simpler than many of you fear. When you read a word containing a single R, it is enough to make feel only one tap of the rolled R. Normally, in quick conversation, this is more than enough. Bravo, resto, trovare. As you were ready to say runner, now please say rana. And when you have a double R, then you pronounce 2 taps. Correre, parrucca, burro. You don't have to keep rolling the R for a long time unless you want to get a particular effect or exaggerate the sound as I did before. Do you know what's the surprise at this point? Many of you already pronounce the sound of the single R in your own language. You pronounce it without realizing it. You people in North America put this sound in your speech when you pronounce words like mother, for instance. You see, mother, much similar to an Italian word mare, which means sea. Your double T is pronounced very similar to the Italian R. Better sounds like bere, to drink. Cater is like care, dear. And butter, like bare, which is not a cheerful word. So, if you want to position your tongue and mouth correctly, just try to reproduce that sound of yours if you are from the US or Canada. And for you, British people or Australians, etc., well, show off your acting skills and try to imitate the Americans. But a lot of native English-speaking people already pronounce the type of R we're looking for. They are Latinos, or coming from Africa, for instance, or from India, which, by the way, is the country with the largest number of native English speakers on Earth. So, no problem pronouncing the Italian R for non-Anglo-Saxon English speakers. So, my friends, you know what to do with the R. The same exercises we've seen with D and T. When you achieve an acceptable sound, start putting that sound into your English words, as you were an actor in a movie. Then try the Italian words, etc. Finally, perhaps try some Italian words with all three of them, R, D and T. Siri, hai delle belle parole con R?
Ne vuoi qualcuna che abbia singola e anche doppia R?
Certamente, ci farebbe piacere.
Ramarro, carriera, correre, sottrarre, arrostire, sussurrare.
E poi con R, D e T insieme?
Tradurre, direttore, detrattore, diritto, ridotta, drastico, arredato.
Direi che così sono sufficienti.
Bene, se non serve altro, ci salutiamo?
Sì, grazie infinite e buona giornata, Siri.
Buona giornata anche a voi.
My friends, for many of you, this lesson requires lots of exercise to achieve an acceptable pronunciation of these three consonants. I'm not here to promise you to learn Italian in a few minutes, as many people do. My method is to show you the simple and easy way. This does not mean it's fast. Learning a language is a matter of habit. You have to learn things, but then also repeat them, using this communication tool that is the language, until things become instinctive to you. So you won't speak perfect Italian in 5 minutes. But you know the way, you know how to do. Watch this lesson many times possibly. This is my suggestion for you. What do you think about the things we've seen in this episode and about Italian pronunciation in general? Please leave your comments in the section below. Next time I'm going to talk to you about the last two consonants with two different sounds. But let me know if you like something else. Click the like button and subscribe to the channel. You'll be informed of new lessons as soon as they're published. Cari amici poliglotti, ci rivediamo presto. Ciao!